The free-to-play shooter The Finals has now been out for about 5 months, and even if Embark Studios and The Finals got some initial hype and some success after the game was released, the game has been suffering from a decreasing player count. On top of that, Nexon, who is the publisher behind The Finals, believes that the game has been underperforming. So we'll talk about what that means and also why The Finals hasn't been able to meet up the expectations in a broader perspective of things. The publisher Nexon went out saying that they have informed its shareholders via its quarterly report that the game is simply underperforming, and they went on saying the launch of Season 2 in March created a short-lived increase in player metrics, but delivered lower than expected retention and revenue. The Embark team is working with our Korea-based live operations team to understand and address the key issues. Nexon also admitted that there's been good and solid results from other titles in their portfolio, but that they were pretty or partly offset by the Finals shortfall. And this simply means that the Finals failure to deliver on expectations meant that the publisher reported lower revenue than it was originally targeting, despite reporting growth in Maple's story and rampant success from Dave the Diver. The Finals got a bit of an increase of players after launching Season 2 content, but unfortunately it didn't last that long, and so I can imagine that Nexon and the shareholders are now expecting is the word for it, growth for the Finals when the 3rd season will drop in June. Maybe the overall expectations has been set too high on Nexon's behalf. I mean, most of us playing multiplayer and live service games knows that it's a tough market out there, and it really takes something special to stand out and do well. But money is involved here, and shareholders usually don't have an insight in the actual market, and they don't need to. They're just there to invest and hopefully make money doing so. The question though is what happens if the Finals aren't able to grow any further also after Season 3 has been released? How will Nexon act, and what will it mean for the game overall? This is of course hard to know since we don't have the insight in their work when it comes to estimated numbers or a quota or a threshold that has to be reached in order to continue to get support for future development, meaning support to Embark Studios for the future development of the Finals. From my perspective of being someone that has played shooter games for a very long time, I have noticed things, although I stopped playing the Finals on a regular basis some time ago, that might be reasons why the game hasn't been able to attract more people within the FPS community, but also not being able to keep some of the current players to continue to log in and play the game. First off, lack of content overall and being too slow to add new games into the game is one thing, and I've seen this happening many times when it comes to other FPS titles, new games that is, no matter what kind of a genre within the genre we're talking about. It could be sim, arcade shooter, tactical shooter, third-person shooter, you name it, but it is way too often that developers do not add content in a pace so that the most active players feel that they are taken care of, if you will, so to say, and therefore still feel motivated to continue to log in and play the game. In my belief, Embark Studios should have added more maps and also more game modes earlier into the life cycle of the Finals, and I'm talking about game modes that goes away a bit from the original concept of the game, which I believe would also be a way for more casual players to stay in the game. Instead, they added a free-for-all game mode that was more or less the same as the more competitive objective game modes that are already in the game. That was some time ago. Now I'm talking about like a normal free-for-all and team deathmatch, maybe just being able to use one class, let's say heavy only as a variation, snipers only game mode, a domination kind of game modes that are all about the destruction in the game, just using RPGs and low gravity, like a party game mode if you will. Well, some of these modes could be in rotation even. I mean, they have the maps, they could just use smaller parts of these bigger maps to make things like that happening without a big hassle as well from a developer's perspective. Because we gotta be honest also saying that the Finals isn't a great game when it comes to solo queuing, when it comes to their original competitive objective game mode. So again, bigger variety within the Finals concept and game could potentially make more people stay playing the game. Yeah, I believe that these kind of game modes would add some variety, let go of the try-hard mode and just have fun in the game, also without any SBMM in these game modes mentioned. I believe that implementing skill-based matchmaking into the finals casual playlist was a big mistake and also something that has made people shy away from the game, at least some. And I'm strongly convinced still that you will get the most variation and the most fun out of the game or in a game overall in the long run if you don't have skill-based matchmaking in casual game modes. As a matter of fact, more and more people and experienced developers in the industry has started to step forward talking about it. Some are going far, saying that skill-based matchmaking is ruining multiplayer games overall nowadays. And I believe there's some truth behind those statements. And I'm pretty sure that's one reason why an upcoming game such as X-Defiant might get quite a lot of players into their game, just because they've clearly stated that there will be no skill-based matchmaking in their casual game modes. When I came back playing the finals once more doing this video, I also thought about the fact that there are a lot of gadgets in the game if I get into the menu and compare also with the numbers of guns. Probably more than the actual weapons. Add to that also that you can, for example, equip both a nade and a gas nade onto your class, so if you get into a match where a lot of players have been doing the same thing, then you will end up having quite a lot of nade spam in the game. I mean, maybe some kind of limitation here would be preferable. Maybe I'm talking about a minor thing or issue in the bigger picture when it comes to the whole game or class balance discussion that is out there for sure. But I do feel that I wanted to mention it. Another thing that makes it hard to get some kind of balance here, if that's what they are looking for when it comes to the finals, is the ability, for example, of being invisible in a game like this. Especially since you can be invisible, but also in combination having a melee weapon in the game. I'm not sure what I think about that, to be honest, especially since I want the focus to be foremost on gunplay in an FPS game. I guess the more variables you have in a game, the harder it might become to achieve balance in the actual game. But at the end of the day, I don't have a very strong opinion about the classes overall or how they play with or against each other. I'm more concerned, I think it's a bigger thing, about the fact that another fairly new shooter being released is facing problems when it comes to engaging a larger player base over time. Maybe the finals, after all, is a game that won't be able to attract a bigger player base due to its design and nature. Some would even say lack of identity. But all games aren't for everyone, and that's okay as long as the ones that are actually playing the game are enjoying it and also will be around when the next season will be launched. With that said, I would like to hear from you when it comes to the Nexon report we have talked about here, but also when it comes to your overall thoughts about the finals and maybe also the future of the game. Thanks for taking your time watching my video, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like since it helps me out here on YouTube, and I hope to see you soon here again on my channel. Later.